All right. So we are coming into this in an area of the city that we have not explored very much, which is the Philosopher's Stone, which is the probably one of the nicer districts in the entire city. By comparison to the rest of Freiburg, the streets here are brick walkways. They're laid out and wider than they need to be, so that cars can actually like pass each other. Visiting carriages from out of the city could potentially stop here without anyone needing to walk. There's curved oil lamps that are sitting that have like dedicated lamp lighters, and this is the one place in the city where there's an abundance of guards, where there's more guards than are needed. Um, the Steinderweisen is there's an abundance of windows, small domes, ornate fences. Like this is the first area that's really sort of transforming into what would be considered Renaissance Germany, as far as like the appearance of it, as opposed to like medieval Germany. Um, and Renaissance Germany, I don't know if you're much familiar with the architecture, but the kind of defining factor of it is like way more windows than anybody could ever need. So um, you are specifically at a bar slash fight club. I'm getting the name real quick. Actually, I'm not. We're going to fill that in later. Where the entire tavern is itself sort of built around a central pit. If you think of like the scene in Sherlock Holmes, the Robert Downey Jr. one, where there's sort of like a crowd of people around a wooden octagon. That is our opening scene, and moving through that is a Rosa that is very much getting jostled with every step, but is following the rumors that she's heard. Um, the we're several days since we last saw our heroes, and a few weeks since we last saw Arthur Wolf. But as she makes her way through the crowd, she can see him fighting a larger opponent, one who is not as skillful as him, and also, despite being larger, does not hit as hard as him. But she can also see on Arthur the signs of days of this. Like she can see that his body is like wearing down because it's not getting the time to recover, and that there are bruises upon bruises upon bruises. There's scarred knuckles upon scarred knuckles, and that while Arthur is frequently winning his fights, like he's paying for it in ways he might have too much pride to acknowledge. um, I'm going to go ahead and what I would like from Arthur is both a brawn roll and a resolve roll. You're muted.
Muted.
So because it's I've got a brawn of 4, it's roll 4.
Or keep 4. If you have the toughness advantage, you're going to get an additional unkept die on that roll.
Ah, I do not.
That's fine.
15.
Okay.
And then a resolve roll.
Sorry,
said,
there's not a resolve roll. So at this junction, bear in mind this is downtime, so we actually start to gate. This is going to be erased, but at this point, through accumulated wear of different fights and stuff like that, you're up to 2 dramatic wounds. Okay. And that just reflects like internal bruising, the buildup of fights over time, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What is your resolve?
2.
Okay, so at that point, you're actually during this scene, this downtime, you're actually like crippled, which means your tens no longer explode on rolls, and okay. That's for the duration, sort of like of this conversation. Does that make sense? Rosa has tracked Arthur down by rumor to this place, and at this point, Arthur has been fighting for about 2 weeks straight. He's only obligated to a fight a night. Whether he's been doing more than that or not is up to you.
Yes, if it's been this much, then he's been fighting basically like for days without much rest. Well, occasional rest, but those are not so restful as one might hope they would be,
Yeah. The
accompanied by someone else. Anyways,
the fight kind of closes out with the like a crack of a hit that you can tell probably dislocates Arthur's jaw, but gives him enough like anger to kind of take down the other one in a few hits. And then there's the sort of painful process of like resetting it that Rosa can see leaves leaves a bit of wear. Does that make sense? Like but the patrons are absolutely enamored of him. And they're, there's like kind of cheers of like get him another pint, he'll be fine. People pressing alcohol towards him. Um, but
no, no, no. Yes, no, yes.
um, and that is where she sees him. The the proprietor is kind of keeping an eye, but moves him like no, he's taking the next one out. Bringing the next fighters, and they're chalkboards that have the next rounds of bets being taken and stuff like that. And Arthur has a table that one of the bartenders is, or one of the bar wenches, I should say, actually is like helping him over towards
Oh,
one of
thank you,
the
lass.
older kind of maternal ones.
Oh, thank you, lass. I think I may have overextended a little bit.
Oh, you think?
Just a little wee bit. Not much.
uh she just kind of like clucks her tongue, looks a little bit like she has more that she would say, but like you are not her child. But that's very much the vibe of like, you know, knuckles on her hips. It makes just sort of like a in turns heads to other customers. She's like the one bar wench here that does not receive regular harassment from drunken patrons, because she gives them the kind of sass that they'll feel guilty about.
So Arthur's drinking, because I don't think he's noticed Rosa yet.
And Rose has walked over, mask on. Um, yeah, Otto is out. For some reason, I see his like two little pinnipeds like crossed arms, and the one foot is like tapping as
Can I?
Rosa. So Gav was right then. You were here.
I'm usually here. Otherwise, I'm asleep, or sometimes I'm across the street, or a few blocks over, and then I have to run out the window, and it's just a whole bunch of things. It's just, yeah, I'm here.
We all weren't sure where you went.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure where I went either. Just sort of, I was asked to do a fight, and then they asked me to do another one, and then it's been sort of at it for a while.
You wanted to destroy the tower, see?
Oh, that's still my plan. Yeah, just
Well,
looking at the best way
since
to do
you've
it.
been gone, many things have been discovered.
Oh, well, that's great then, I suppose.
I would rather not
Do you wish
speak,
to elaborate?
not around those who are not. And she's effectively like making y'all, I'm trying to do this. Uh Trying to like make it very clear she doesn't want to talk around the patrons openly about what's been happening.
My room's upstairs. Just come with me. Uh, give me a moment. Uh, Marianne, do you mind having me to my room?
and Rosa's not gonna help you because
Oh, he's
Oh,
waiting
it's-
for the matron to.
Yeah. There's like the older barman just comes back and like loops an arm and.
I think a
Oh
nice
no, I
sort of.
haven't overdone it. I just can't do steps now.
Well, like I said, I overextended, and I think I'm going to have a nice little rest for 3 days, and then another one for 2, and we'll be fine.
This is, the proprietor will charge you for a steak, but I'll bring a raw one for your eyes.
That would be much appreciated.
Yeah, and she helps him up, and the room is like there's not a like master suite or anything like that. This is all the kind of rooms that people would stay overnight on their way like through Freeburg. Not really designed for like long-term residents, but Arthur has made it work for him.
Yeah. And there are some things in the room that would be very much Arthur things. Besides the coin that's always around his neck. Even when he's what I'm assuming is shirtless and beaten the shit out of. There's his badge of Elaine, a few articles of clothing, a few women's undergarments that didn't quite make it out with them. That he sees and tries to just like kick under the bed.
yeah, Rosa's just looks so disgusted and so uninterested in everything that you're doing. It's like
And like
didn't-
sheets, like stacks of paper filled with information of stuff that he's learned so far. And lots of letters that just say, "Thank you so much for sending this letter to us. We'll be right back to you. You don't need to keep sending us these letters. I don't care what you had for breakfast."
There's not actually any return letters yet, but the just to do an interjection real quick, go ahead and make a wits and criminal roll for me. Arthur,
Add the yeah. Does that add the wits to the criminal,
2,
or is it it's
You-
a 2 keep 2?
You
Fine.
keep the total of you roll the total of them and you keep your wits.
5,
Okay.
keep 3.
No,
16.
it's just Arthur's roll, not.
Oh shit, never mind. I got
16.
26.
I'll take Rose's roll though. That seems very nice.
Sorry. Yeah, it's fun. So actually, we'll go into that during the actual downtime. The one of the stacks of papers that is like overturned is some of the names that Arthur has gotten of those that are kind of in the criminal underworld that's in Freeburg. Let me, because I do have it written down. I'm not going to give any context as I say these because Arthur has the context. This is just, oh wait, Rosa can't read anyway. That was a whole unnecessary digression. Zip.
Yeah, you can't read.
Well, wait,
Carry on.
wasn't like Glenn working on teaching her how to read? That was a whole thing when they started the whole.
Oh yeah, I don't think we've done any more lessons though.
Oh, we'll get back.
And
to that.
regardless,
Sorry.
does she read Avalon?
Yeah, she doesn't read Avalon. That's not one of her languages.
Doesn't read Avalon, really, honestly.
I understand that there are certain people who enjoy causing issue for others, but That is not this group.
That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. What does this have to do with the tower?
The tower is keeping something out.
Yes, I'm aware of that. That's why I want to take it down.
Senior Len said it is something bad.
Well, it depends on your definition of bad. Sometimes they're very nice, sometimes they're very bad. It's just look, it's just a bunch of hospitality things, and you need to be nice. And if you're not nice, then you get your arse kicked.
These are things that he said that player has completely blanked out on the Usurian goddess's name.
Matrushka.
That Len said Matrushka. Excuse me, my Usurian is still very. I'm still learning.
That's fine.
Put them in there for a reason.
So you're saying that an angry god, a bear god, that once is punishing my people.
Know if it's a bear god or what.
No, I've heard rumors.
He said it is very dangerous to bring it down. There needs to be another way.
Well, if you can think of another way that can get my people to stop being so ill whenever they arrive and stops killing my friends and everyone like that, then I'm happy to hear it. But until then, I'm a little bit more damned with the consequences.
You are a little more damned, but you do not understand this group.
No, I've only met you about 2 times.
Exactly. They are probably the kindest people I have ever met.
Oh, absolutely.
And
No,
she actually takes her mask off at this point because yeah, here we go. And I will make it very clear because I know criminal. I understand the criminals. And if you decide to hurt this group, I will prove why the Inquisition is after me. Understand?
To a degree, and to a degree, no. I just don't. I think you've made an impression incorrectly. You all seem like lovely people, but I don't care enough about any of you yet to want to hurt you. You're at the moment unknown variables in the soup that is my life, ingredients that I haven't quite figured out what to do with. And I'm trying to, and I've been very busy here working on my own understanding of the connections and the ways that this city works. But I just don't care too much yet. Just, I'm certain you're all very nice people, and I'm happy to assist whenever you want an assistance of any sort of thing. But
they are very nice. I am not.
And you don't count yourself among that.
And this is the first person that she's actually going to reveal this to, as Legion floats out of her deck. Anyone with this card is damned. This is my card.
Anyone with this is damned. So you're not alone in the whole damning department. And also, who gives a shite what fate has to say about anything?
Those who know.
Honest to God. No. Who cares? Why ever care what anyone else thinks, including some stuck-up gods or goddesses or fae or people? Just be your fucking self all the time. Like, who gives a shite? And who's to say that the fact that you're damned by this thing makes it so much worse than, oh, my life is already damned. I can't see any way out. It's fuck off. No one cares what anyone's life is going to be like. And if those people are as good as you say they are, then they are not going to stand by for a bleeding second and let you walk away hurt by any of these things. So to feck with fate.
You're speaking with a Strega. I control.
And that means nothing to me. I'm understanding what your people do. But at the same time, I don't give a shite.
Whatever is in those letters.
The only people that have
if it is
ever,
about them,
the only people that have, it's
do
about
not
everything.
send it.
Oh no, I've already sent them. I haven't gotten any responses back yet. It's mostly been about what I've eaten for breakfast. I mentioned them. I mean, of course I mentioned them, but still. I mean, like I've mentioned literally everyone I've met, and a few well-endowed women that I've also met. But still, that is not the point I'm trying to make here. Also, just, it doesn't matter. I understand that your people care so much about what fate has in store for you, what fate is going to be meaning for you people. But also, at the same time, the only person who you should give a damn about what they want you to be doing and what you should be doing is yourself. Don't come at me with this don't come at me with this fate nonsense.
Even you have a fate.
I'm aware.
And Stregas
And
are
I don't
able
give
to
a
change
shit.
that.
And that shouldn't do what precisely?
Scare you.
Well, you failed.
They're more trusting than I am. Don't break that trust. And that's when she's walking
I
out
don't
and
intend
slamming the
to.
door.
Lovely chat.
And that's where we'll draw curtain.
Bit of a horrible woman.
Curtain. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and welcome to the Shadow of the Wachtturm, a 7th first edition Let's Play set in the great lawless city of Freiburg. Our art is courtesy of Hero Forge, first edition 7th, and Be Funky. Our producer is one of the moderators of Dirty 20 Gaming, the delightful and compassionate Gloriosa, and our lore master for the series is the beautiful and benevolent Syndra. Before we get started, I wanted to give a content warning. While the spirit of 7th is swashbuckling adventure and shadowy intrigue, the story will deal with mature themes, including death, loss, suicide, and grief. Eisen, our setting, is recovering from a 30-year civil war over religious differences. It may get dark sometimes. There's no shame in bowing out if it's not a place your head can go at the moment. So without further ado, I'm going to have our savvy swashbucklers introduce themselves and go ahead and start with Rosa. Sans.
While I was reading over chat because I was like, oh no, I missed things. I'm allowed to be on chat today. So hey y'all, my name's Sarah. I also go Sans in the Discord. I am here what should be 3 times a week, hopefully this week. I'm looking at the other the other DM this week. For the Tuesday game, I am in the Cyberpunk Red Carnage Heights campaign as Magic Broken Heart of the team. Silverlock, the name fits, y'all. I'm keeping it. On Thursday, I'm the DM for the Fool's Gold King's Pyrite campaign. We are hoping to come back this week with our finale. It's gonna be insane. And I'm here as Rosa Nix, the angry, I guess, horrible one who is trying to be loyal to the first time ever in her life, and she doesn't know what she's doing. So it's fun. And with other than that, I am working with the Scarred Adventurer on stuff and things that will come out eventually. And I should probably bounce this over to him. Yeah.
Hi, I'm the Scared Adventurer. I've been absent for a little while because I've been ill. But I'm back now, and as said before, I work with the wonderful Tango Productions to do wonderful and fun things. I'm hoping, if I can hold out well enough, I'm hoping that I can manage to get into every game this week, which is actually about 4. There's so many I'm doing. I'm looking forward to it all. Yeah, no, I'm just excited to be back. And also just on the subject of one of those things like, I can change your fate. Yeah, well, so can I. Stab. I'm just saying, it's not that hard. Anyways,
But
I'm
that was
gonna
always your fate.
yeah, I'm gonna hand it over to Len because you just slash Bad Kyle because you opened your mouth.
I did. I do that a lot. So anyway, hey folks. Yeah, see, she knows who she married. Hey folks, I'm Bat Kyle. You can find me here on Thursdays in the King's Pirate game playing badges. Yay, we're doomed! Newth, the saltiest druid who is ready to go to quite a distance in this finale, but we'll see how that goes. And then you can find me here on Sundays playing Len, too sexy for my shirt, Costin, the shape-shifting pseudo mercenary model at this point. And then you can find me on the Discord posting unhinged food memes and generally being just an overall menace. Over to Bison.
That's me. Hi, I am Bison_Stonefist. I'm a regular contributor on this channel. I'm currently here 3 times a week. I run our Cyberpunk Red campaign. It's called Carnage Heights. We're not near the end, but you know, things have shifted. It's a really weird second arc. I didn't expect to yeah. Thursdays I play Encino, the big damn hero. Very big, in fact, at this point, huge. He is our paladin ranger. He is the unbeating heart of the team. And that's on King's Pyrite. Tonight I am playing Gav the Grin, our big lovable dumbass. Yeah, you'll see what he's all about tonight. On to Runa.
Hi, I'm Ruth. You can find me here on Tuesdays as Exit, the resident fixer, who can't help but try to get people to fix their shit because, frankly, she's over it. On Thursday,
She's just addicted to work. It's not that big a deal, y'all.
shut up.
Sure.
Now, only if you didn't speak in that moment. This would have been my cleanest intro yet. On Thursdays, you can find me as Des Rai, who is a tiefling, so her skin is red. You can't see all the blood. And today as Runa. Yeah, I'm gonna pass it over to Honorine.
Hello, I'm Rory. I am also only here one night a week, and that is this wonderful Sunday night, playing our wonderful soldier boy. There we go. Someone got it. You were late.
I'm
Couldn't hear
fixing
Glory.
the mic. I'm fixing it.
Oh,
It's better.
uh-oh.
Hello, I'm here as Honorine. I was a noblewoman, am noblewoman, now was slumming. Hi, only here once night a week.
That sounded like my intros.
Back to
Are we
Rory.
passing around the brain cell?
I think it is a communal brain cell night for sure. Yeah, here playing Hans Ulrich tonight. Fun soldier boy who is most certainly now. It's basically confirmed he's made a deal with the devil. Maybe
That's my man you're talking about there.
Skibidi-bidi-bidi-bop-bop-bop.
I guess.
Also,
devil
like,
that- a devil that minutes ago he asked if he could buy faith in.
yeah. Well, hey.
Way to
the game
embrace
will
the
go.
arc.
I am nothing if not devoted to the lore.
The lore.
Aside
SoundCloud.
from aside from gaming here with these wonderful people, I theoretically and actually hopefully soon will have an actual schedule for streaming some music related things, as well as I will hopefully have at least one or two more songs. I mainly just have to track them down in whatever godforsaken corner of my storage they've ended up in. Hopefully I have a couple new songs to post on SoundCloud because modern music distribution sucks. I'm hoping to stream some DJ sets and some music production on a new piece of software. But yeah, that's my bit. So
Do you have a streaming schedule, by the way? Like,
Oh.
do you have a day you stream?
no, not yet.
Okay.
Once I do, I'll like post it on my Twitch account if anyone is interested, and probably on other things. I don't know. Social media is kind of stupid in the modern era. So enough about me. I'll give the joystick of the game back to our lovely storyteller.
And I also I am now also here on Friday nights doing Pirates versus Zombies, where I am playing Anchors Away, the automaton. The GM called me a paladin last time, so I don't know how pirate paladins work, but apparently I'm one.
You worship the sea. That's how it works.
Not quite. The sea is death in Rapscout. That's not the direction that he goes. So I normally have a little intro thing that I read, but because we have a lot to do tonight, I'm going to actually just skip ahead a bit. So the ancient days of Numa, stuff happened, but now back to Freeburg.
Wait. I need to know if we're starting with a letter or a slur.
yeah, the leather.
Death?
An insult.
Death. Yeah, tonight we are definitely starting with a letter because there are invitations that are in hand for some of the people who are going to different parties. However, we have some time before that. We have some things to cover that everybody is doing with their downtime. So just because it's easiest for me and how everybody is arranged in the Zoom call with me, I'm actually going to start with Rosa and her downtime. So spotlight, ching. Let me know again what you were doing with this downtime.
Besides going to find Arthur and basically getting his ass back to the group, or telling him to stay away from the group. I don't know what Rosa just did. She is trying to learn music to better read the journal.
Yep. And that is, so is that a process where she's actually like looking for someone to teach her, or she's trying to, okay. So go ahead, and what I would like from you is a wits and performer roll. For this, you may actually add your appearance to it because people want to do nice things for pretty people.
So that would be 10 plus 3, right? For stunning beauty and dangers.
So you get 2 extra unkept dice for the stunning beauty. You get your performer knack, which is at what currently?
3 or 2, so that's 4.
Okay, and then plus your wits.
So 7 keep 3.
Yes.
27.
Okay. You are actually, so over in just moving back to the district map for now. So over in the riverfront, you're not far from one of the most famous musicians in Freiburg. He's a violinist who's basically operating at the equivalent level of like a concert violinist. He has shows that are just him playing the violin. Does that make sense? Nothing else. And they're almost always, I want to say, like sold out. Does that make sense? He actually does the shows in a smaller arena in the Philosopher's Stone area, but this is the area that he chooses to live and practice and stuff like that. He has one of the nicest homes in all of the riverfront. I think I've mentioned before the riverfront has kind of like wild disparity between the poorest and the wealthiest. It's not quite as bad as the Stone of the Philosopher, but it is approaching it. And his estate, you know, like you would you're like surprised that you even gained an admittance, and you think that you probably gained the admittance because the servant at the front door is taken by your looks.
Yeah.
I don't know how much or how comfortable she is in leaning into that or not.
Not entirely. Since she's been hiding it for so long, she's not exactly sure how to lean into using her beauty for her advantage.
Okay. It's with that she gets an audience with Wilhelm Kurtz, you know, who she can tell before she arrives, like, the manservant kind of like announces, like, you have a visitor, Wilhelm. He's like, what have I told you about interrupting my practice time? And he sort of like throws open the door. He's a man in his like 40s with like gray temples, and like pulled back into the kind of like small ponytail at the base of the neck that is a fashion of the period. He looks like he's probably had handsomer days. Does that make sense? Like he hasn't quite aged in the silver fox way. That's like everything just looks better. It's like, nope, he's just looking older. And he kind of comes up short at Rosa, and he's like, well, some admirers can have a exception made for them. What can I assist you with, young lady?
I know very little about performance, but I would like to get better at reading music.
This is most musicians simply learn by ear. You actually wish to learn the art of composition.
See.
I understand. Well, he says, I am not a man, he says, in need of financial recompensation. He says, but I would be willing to undertake your instruction in return for a favor in return.
And that is?
Says, you are quite a striking woman. He says, and there's a small soiree approaching, which I could use accompaniment for. He says, if you would be willing to escort me, I'd be happy to teach you some music in return.
Grazie. Yes, that works.
It's like, I will, you kind of, Rosa's, is she kind of dressed as a common, or is she dressed like a little upper at this point?
Oh, she's wearing basically the same outfit that has been, if not, it's still very much Vadachi Strega of the high collar and the red, though she may have changed into like either blue or one of the other colors she has. I don't know.
He says, and this function, he says, is one in which a certain standard of attire is required. He says, I wouldn't want to impose upon your financial means. He says, so please make yourself available to Della Warner. She owns a dress shop here in the riverfront. You've been here long enough to know it. You know that she's like the one that nobles in the area do go to for proper retirement. And I can see you on the morrow to begin in some instruction.
Grazie.
Do you have an instrument that you play?
I sing a little. That is what I was taught to do.
Very well. And with that, he retires. But he is true to his word, and he also like makes arrangements so that the Delaware's dress shop is like the dress is on that. Does that make sense? And it's going to be an outfit appropriate for a noble evening.
Okay.
Della kind of she makes it fairly clear, like she's subtle about it. She makes it fairly clear that like she is aware of like Werner's tastes and she can modify the dress to kind of accentuate his tastes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's up to her.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the tightest corset and the lowest cut bodice she's ever been in. From there to Arthur. Since I have killed Sans.
Did we get an actual spit take? That's crazy.
I don't even think
Are you
I've
okay?
scored a spit take out of her.
I have.
Okay, cool.
Barely.
I think I choked her.
No.
What if she likes it?
When
Tell your
Henry's
story,
eating.
Daddy.
No.
I was taking a vitamin, y'all, and almost spit it up. I spit up like some soda, so I'm going to clean that up later. But yes, that was a spit take.
My apologies.
Never apologize for perfection.
All right. So Arthur has spent his time, I recall, sort of learning a lot of like the criminal elements of the city. So I'm going to get a wits in criminal. Wait, we did that already. You got a 15 on it. If you'd like to now make a second one to spend additional time doing this, you can basically get additional names of those who are sort of involved in the underworld.
Okay. We're going to see if this is better than 15. 31. Yep.
Okay.
Better than 15.
So I'm going to give you a total of 9 names from those that are in the Court of Swords, which is the unofficial term for the underworld. And actually, he doesn't know the Court of Swords, but that's how Ettore Mondave has labeled them. Okay. Johanna Zeitler runs a swordsmanship school in I will copy all of these names into
thank God.
like a chat,
Thank
so you
God.
don't have to try to write them all down.
I was about to try and do that.
Okay. Johanna Zeitler runs a swordsmanship academy here in Freiburg. She is also known to, like, if you want your thug to actually sort of elevate himself to semi-useful henchman, she's the kind of person who can provide the training to like make them competent enough at combat. Does that make sense? And that's largely the role she fills. She takes the unwashed masses and turns them into proper thugs. Critical hit. Okay, there is Eric Richter, who is he builds boats. Runa actually lives right next to him. He is also one of the smugglers in the city. There are many smugglers in the city, like multiple that live along the riverfront. That is definitely something that Arthur has figured out as one of the major industries of the city, of the underworld, right? There is Varric Weber, who is a jeweler, he's actually not a jeweler, but his store is a jeweler. He is a cheapskate who's able to buy the treasured heirlooms of people that are desperate and then repackage and resell them as like fine heirlooms and whatnot. And his market is sort of like the middle class who doesn't really know any better as to what jewelry is high quality and it's not. So he's just
the middle class wanting to be upper class kind of people.
Yeah, it's them wanting to impress, you know what I'm saying? And mostly he's taking from the desperate to do so. You already know Frederick Zanarts, who is the one who hosts the boxing matches. That I'm giving you that one for free. You know that he's associated, although he's kind of like on the outside. He is a terrible tavern runner in the sense like his tavern would be losing money every night if not for the illegal gambling. He regularly like buys too much food and it goes bad, and that's saying a lot in a city with as many starving and hungry people as there are. Does that make sense?
He's charging too much for food.
No, he buys too much at a time. Like,
Oh, I
he
imagine
got,
it's both, is what I'm saying. If he buys too much and then also tries to sell it for too much, then it would
it's in
also
the
then go bad faster.
It's the location that he's in. If he was in like a cheaper area, but he's in the Stone de Wyzen. Does that make sense? He's in the nice area where people are not like gorging themselves or anything like that. The prices are no problem for them. It's that he gets nowhere near enough like people coming through to buy enough that he would buy himself out, because he's trying to like make all his purchases once in large and in bulk. A lot of it goes bad.
Yeah.
The other one that you hear is Kurt Dioderling, who is a barber who buys hair from anyone who has it for sale. He uses
He's
it to
not
make
on my
wigs.
list of people to.
He uses it to make wigs. Like, wigs are very common at this time. So there is Aaron McKenna, who's a taxidermist and amateur monster hunter. His shop is lovely. Not really. It's like one of those people, like, some are like, oh, this is fascinating. Others are like, this is completely creepy. There's Peter Ziskin, who's a hunter who does a lot of the hunting for the taxidermy stuff that Aaron puts up, their neighbors and friends. And the last one that you're aware of is actually over in the Dragon Nest, not the area that you're in, which is Friedrich Zandart's. His major competitor is a man named Heinrich Smalls. Heinrich also has bare knuckles boxing. His bare knuckles boxing has a lot more rules. Like, he's trying to avoid the kind of things that Arthur had happen, of like accumulated wounds and stuff like that. He's also much better at running a tavern. His tavern does not need the bare knuckles boxing match, but he is just a fan of like boxing as an art form. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And he absolutely drives Frederick mad.
This is just as a question. Do I still have the 2 dramatic wounds for when we start the?
No, because you're going to heal over time. And
you.
actually, at one point, because you're going to continue to kind of like inflict wounds and stuff like that. At one point, like, Rosemary comes back with a candle and she's like this, burn it, and you don't fight tomorrow. And and on following the instructions, like, you actually have a dramatic wound go away overnight. The candle has some sort of regenerative property.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so that is the names that you have. I'm going to copy them into chat for you. All right, and we are going to all right, and then we're going to move down the list. So next up will be Honoring. What is Honoring up to at this time?
Can you come back to me?
Yeah. We'll move to Gav.
Sorry, I just forgot everything literally I've ever done in my whole life when you asked me that.
Gav is doing a little influence. Not peddling, but acquisition. He's been spending a lot of time in the mornings painting, but in the afternoons and stuff, getting to know the kid gangs around Freiburg, and paying off a whole bunch of debts in the jail, because he knows that the guy that he's trying to go after, the guard captain, likes to throw kids in jail.
Yep. Yeah, and there is a ton of there's a ton of things that he gets via doing that. I do want just an overall criminal and wits roll for the course of your investigation. You've just bought the allies with these children in our downtime. So I will actually let you have 2 roles on this, one for like the kids themselves who are gathering additional information, and the second for Gav personally.
Criminals 2. My wits is 2. It was my finesse that I have. Oh, that is 13 for the first roll. Not so good.
Okay.
And is 17 for the second roll.
Okay. Yeah, so Gav is just too easy to see coming. Does that make sense? There's a lot of, like when he goes personally, people tend to like disappear. Or, it doesn't help that in the past for gangs, he's done enforcement, he's done interrogation. Like
he's sneakier in the sewers than he is above them.
But the kids do like show up for him. Does that make sense? Felix, he's still working with like the rat catchers and stuff like that, but Gav keeps kind of catching him out in the streets. And when it comes time to like do introductions to each of like the local district's kid gangs and stuff like that, Felix is there with him. I am going to say, just for purposes of some other things, that Honorine at one point will see Gav like rolling around with the very small Felix, some little Lake Street rat who like doesn't even come up to his like waist.
Can someone Bison, can you tell me like kind of what that would look like when Honorine spots, like, give me a description, give me a picture.
Okay. Well,
I need this mental picture.
Felix is doing his absolute very best to look like Gav. Like, this is like his little sidekick. Like, he's over the moon knowing that Gav is, developing these gang connections. So he's like, I want to say he's almost running around Gav like a puppy. And it's a constant stream of consciousness from Felix. And Gav is trying his very best to understand.
I want to add in, do you know the kids who cannot walk just like down a sidewalk? They're like walk up and jump on a bench and then they run on the top of the fence. And then like that is how Felix moves constantly. Like if there's a straight line to something, he won't take it.
So question for you. How hard would it be, or how easy would it be, I guess, to have like a left-hand glove made for Felix that is
He already has his Eisen tattoo, which he did himself with like a rusty knife.
I know, and it probably doesn't. I'm thinking like a glove would also help to cover the tattoo, but like a glove kind of in the style of the
hand.
Hands or panned or whatever it is.
In his case, it's just an artificial hand. But yeah, it won't be hard for Honorine to get something like that. Okay. Like something that basically is like sort of a skeletal outline on the back of the glove's hand.
So yeah, okay. She 100% like has one of those made in a child size with like large seams so that it can be taken out as the child grows. 100% slips it to Gav like under his pillow or something at some point.
Yeah, you'd probably see him wearing it the very next day.
Yeah. So Gav is very, very clear what's going on. Kind of like he has the ability to kind of put together things that the kids don't. They think they just got like jacked up by the guards because the guards are an asshole. Does that make sense? But Gav, when he's getting the reports from the kids, like is able to put together the pattern. And he figures out two things. One, the guard captain has a mole inside of the kids' gangs inside of Finehearth because he seems to have advanced knowledge whenever one of the kids makes a big score. And the guards always show up, take it from him, and put him in jail.
Sheriff stuff. In my head, I'm thinking the Sheriff of Nottingham from the Disney Robin Hood.
And the other thing is that like the group that the captain of the Finehearth has the most influence with is probably within the Court of Swords himself. Like he is a known element of that. He will look the other way about anything if you pay him. And that has made it very popular to move a lot of like illegal activities through Finehearth. There's, for the purpose of a meeting between Hans and Gav and the captain, he has plenty of firsthand accounts from people who are themselves criminals. Does that make sense? A few of whom would be willing to say it to the captain directly. Does that make sense? But he also still has the issue of it's from criminals. Like Arthur or Aiden, the guard captain, doesn't seem to make much of a practice of like trying to shake down honest people.
He deals with the kids because they're his, because it's his district. And they're easier to pick on.
Yeah. Also, he is petty as hell. One of the kids like escaped him like in a chase. Does that make sense? And mocked him about it, like from a rooftop. And Aiden broke both of his legs before putting him in jail.
Gav has definitely had a run-in with him, like in his youth, for sure.
So, but you're basically going to have like a success, their success role as backup proof when you go to speak to the captain of the guard in the city.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So we're going to move on from there to Runa.
Okay.
Or actually, let me check first. Honorine, do you have your thoughts back?
Yes.
Okay, I will get back to you, Runa. Sorry.
That's totally fine.
Okay. So first of all, is Honorine still in the 3 sheets, or is she still homeless?
No, he got the place back to her that night.
Okay.
He just, and like, at this point, like, you know, part of the staircase is like completely like re-walled and painted, and because of, like, he literally tore open the staircase and everything under it in his search for rats, and then like rebuilt it, repainted. It's good quality work, but you know, it's clear that he took the complaint very, very seriously.
For one of the first times in her life, she probably feels a twinge of guilt. Okay, so she's back in her house, and she is very busily, do you know what I mean when I say nesting? Like, she, has had a whole bunch of, like, flux in her life, and a lot of, like, everything has just changed a bunch. So she is working on putting down like roots. Like she is working on like, she is decorating, she's having her wardrobe rebuilt, that's the word I'm looking for. She is she would really kind of like to find her actual original luggage. And so she's kind of inquiring after the luggage, like alongside like trying to track down the guy as well, like kind of like, oh, you know, this man guarded me from my lands, ha ha ha, maybe he still has my trunk, or something along those lines.
So I'm going to need 2 rolls from you.
No, absolutely not.
Okay. The 2 rolls. The first one is going to be with her. Just pulling up the skill list real quick. Sorry. Okay, so I need a wits and noble roll, and secondarily, I need a wits and commoner roll.
So it's 3 keep 2.
Yes. Which did you roll first, by the way? that the wits
Whichever
and
one you
noble?
told me first.
Okay, so the wits and noble first.
Wits and noble, and then wits and commoner. So 33 on the first one and 13 on the second.
Okay, so things are actually going very well there. You managed to find the Perwall Mercantile, as well as the local dressmaker that Rose has been referred to. Does that make sense? The same one. She is delighted to actually get to do some like proper Montaigne fashions and stuff like that. Although she admits that a lot of the materials they might have in Montaigne she doesn't have access to. Perwall Mercantile imports stuff from Charus at a considerable markup. So she can get dresses made by Charus dressmakers that she knows about 5 times the already ridiculously inflated price.
So I think honoring, because like I know that she, like, with her touch of commoner knowledge, she probably has at least an idea that money isn't endless. So she's probably going to ask about like maybe harmonizing the styles between her old home and her new home.
The dressmaker is very talented. She has done a lot of sort of harmonizing in the sense of that most of the Jennies in the area come to her. Does that make sense? And so she's got a lot of practice working with different styles because they're from every like nationality and stuff like that. She doesn't admit, by the way, that the Jennies come, but like there's a few times when Honorine is speaking to her that she sees one of them coming in through the back door, and the dressmaker kind of like, we're busy at the moment, and like very much tries to make sure that Honorine doesn't see her like having a Jenny as a customer.
Honorine is politely blind.
Yeah. But she believes that she can do stuff that'll be in like Montaigne fashions, but with different fabrics, like
Okay.
cuts and things like that.
Sounds good.
And for Honorine to be very easy to cover by saying like, oh well, you know, it's like colder here, it needs to be a little warmer, etc. And there's going to be very few people that she expects to run into that will be familiar with the latest court fashions in Montaigne.
Well, and she's not trying to fit in Montaigne, so.
Yeah. She also notes that she knows enough about the people of standing here that there's actually a certain dislike of excessive lavishness. Does that make sense? Because it's considered to be too Montaigne, and they recently fought a war with Montaigne. So a certain amount of frugality will actually go a long way.
What's the name of it? Oh, it's the good old Eisen austerity kicking in.
So she will be able to get some dresses, and I believe she was also looking to get herself sort of established and get some names at the court and stuff like that, right?
Yes, correct.
All right. So we're gonna have so her 33 on her noble roll is going to count at a slightly reduced rate for that. A lot of it is just sort of getting enough reputation to be recognized as noble and to possibly receive an invitation. But I will give you 3 names from the Court of Staves.
What did Rosa tell her staves are for?
Authority.
Authority? Okay.
I'm using that as like my freehand, by the way.
No,
like,
I know. I was just gonna say if it's the passion one, I'm gonna be like super amused.
That's cups.
So obviously the most important person in the Court of Staves is Redmond Earhart. He is the wealthy landowner that she's already kind of heard a little bit about. The way she hears it from people as she's kind of doing some investigation is like he owns half of Freeburg. The other name that she hears is Franz Hagelstoffer.
Gesundheit.
He is known as so he owns a very high-end casino that is sort of like the place to see in BC. It's a place that, like, not only do you spend money, but you have to pay a 75 guilder membership fee annually just to like be allowed to step in the doors. And that is large enough that most people like middle class and below couldn't afford it. But it is not a huge deal for an actual noble. And the last one that she will hear about is actually Wilhelm Kurtz, who Rosa has met, the violinist. Like, every occasion that he goes to is considered a proper soiree because Kurtz is there. Does that make sense? He's like the marker of taste, and you have enough influence to like lure Wilhelm there. Good.
Okay.
And I can get you those names in the chat as well if you'd like. I'm sure everybody wants to know how to spell Helgostoffer.
I took a stab at it in my notes. We'll see how right I am. That's how I do with all my notes. Take a stab at it and then ask later. And then how does she do on hunting down swordsman / her luggage? More emphasis on the swordsman.
That was the commoner part, and
Didn't do
that
so good on that one.
That breaks off when she's kind of in like one of her first like new dresses and stuff like that, like and in the midst of her inquiries about that is when she realizes she's being followed.
Do I know who by? Does she know who by?
She does kind of see like like a man in the crowd and stuff like that, and when she kind of manages to like duck into an alley, he passes by, she gets a closer look and she sees that he's wearing a necklace that has the prophet of the cross, which is not at all unusual, but dangling with it is a hammer. That's the sign of the Inquisition.
Right. I mean, I could guess, but I'm also a know-it-all. Honorine is
she has personally been inside of the Inquisition headquarters. She's not going to forget that there were fucking hammers everywhere.
All I can think about is the line from Dr. Horrible.
I've been saying that in my head for like 5 minutes now.
Wait, what?
I'll tell you when you're older.
Is it the one where they're at the laundromat?
Hammer is my.
Oh.
I keep thinking about the fact that nobody expects the Inquisition. That's just been the bit in my head this whole time.
Yeah.
No one expects the Inquisition.
So she gets no further information, but her inquiries definitely seem to have set off somebody searching for her. And she managed to escape them for now, but she's also re-alerted them to her presence. So moving to Len, or moving to Runa, sorry.
One more thing. Can she hire the chef that recently was unemployed by the absolute wreckage of what's-his-face's house?
She absolutely
Jordan?
can. She has never found somebody that is more delighted to be making stuff that is not Dutch or Eisen cuisine, because he's been making it constantly for like the last 10, 15 years.
She 100%, like, if she hears about Jordan's chef, like if Gav is talking about like, oh man, it was boar, blah 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 blah, she's like, I need to hire that man. I need a chef. Okay, cool. That's all.
Okay, back to Runa.
Okay, so she has 2 things to speak with her cousin about,
And she also wants to check on the family she knows is still alive or doesn't know is deceased. So I'll start with talking to to Sora and get those out of the way.
Okay, so we kind of covered, she's going to talk to Sora and kind of explain about Scaregin and stuff like that. It's a fairly long, like multi-day conversation. You know what I'm saying? She has a lot of questions about the Vestin beliefs. She only knows it as she's been explained it by Vendel Objectionist, which demonized everything. You know what I'm saying? And getting the truth of it, you know, she finds comforting. You know, her first concern is sort of like wait, my daughter's going to hell, you know, like going to oblivion, as that is how the objections frame it. She's a sorcerer. If she practices her magic, she'll go to oblivion.
And Runa would explain, frankly, if she didn't practice, she'd be a lot worse off. And that is not the case at all.
Yeah, so that and after that, you know, she can start training her. There's a lot of it that is at first just sort of like the knowledge base of like explaining the runes, explaining the stories and the meaning of each ones, which for Runa is like, there's some of them she hasn't really thought about in years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so she has to like work to kind of like recover the, like, wait, what was this one about? You know, what was their story?
Yeah.
So
she'd probably use wealth a lot in those moments, just like making sure that she knows that she's doing Brandy justice and teaching her.
Yeah. And because you have enough time, I'm not going to have you make rolls for everybody that she's like spying on. Does that make sense? But she is starting to teach Brandy. So I'm popping open your character sheet real quick so that I can go through everybody. Okay, so obviously
I know
her mom is a rebound.
I wrote doesn't know but low hopes. I would still like to check on him.
Okay. So Red and Hostgold, she knows her dad. Fid Blue Eyes, she knows his dad.
Yes.
Rongvald is she actually sees him in one of the kind of like outer archipelagos of like Vestin territories. Does that make sense? Like there are multiple island chains. He's a lot thinner than she remembers. He doesn't quite look as like happy and jolly and stuff like that. Like he's clearly like scarred by his experiences. And she sees him briefly, and like he kind of like seems to be kind of like roused from whatever he was thinking about, but she recognized the architecture of like Longholm and stuff like the Viking Longholms, right? And when she looks up, she sees that he's in the company of a warrior and chief, like a jarl that she knows of by reputation. Like it can only possibly be him because he's that huge, giant beard. He's like the epitome of all things Vestin. Does that make sense? And so he's come to be in the service of somebody who probably needs a skald. He doesn't look like mistreated or anything like that. He just looks like maybe he's not as happy as she remembers him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It would be hard to think of anyone who would be.
The quick look up real quick.
Oh shit, we're getting
I'll
the
do it
book
later.
out.
I will do it later because it is going to be a little bit of a flip. But she knows him. Like she knows that for a long time he was trying to get Ingvild to support his claim to being the High King of the Vestin, to like unite the Vestin to kind of like fight back against the Vendel. And Ingvild was like, no. And her reasons were that she knew the kind of king that he would be, and that he would make war upon the Vendel, and he would leave no Vendel alive. So after that, so Fid is dead. She knows that. Vondra Lucky Halvardson, who was the master of the tops, the guy who always like sat up at the top of the rigging, and like many times she thought she was going to see fall to his death, and just sort of always caught himself at the last minute.
Yeah, she was always looking up at him with such fear for his life.
She sees him alive as well. And she sees him in the company of another person from her vision, not the old man, but the one that she saw carve his own eye out. They're both like traveling cloaked. They're clearly trying to be like incognito. Does that make sense? But somehow Lucky is definitely scarred. Like he looks like he got the worst of it during the fighting, but he's come through it with all limbs and all digits intact. But he seems to be sort of like serving at the side of this person that has an eye patch and an enormous gray beard now that she saw him grow overnight after casting his eye out. And he's not the only one. She sees Orm there as well, the graybeard, who is now like fully like almost 70. Does that make sense? Like he moves with pain. He legitimately has a beard as gray as the one-eyed man. But the two of them are like seem to be sort of like serving as followers to this man.
I'm so curious as to who this man is, because he was in my vision.
Sigvali is dead.
Okay. Take out doesn't know but low hopes.
Yeah.
Just leave deceased.
And Gris, she looks in on again, and she is no longer in a galley. She is no longer a chained slave. She is hooded and in the back alleys of what Runa can only assume is a crescent city. Like she sees like the enormous kind of like minarets and mosques and things like that she has seen in like picture books and heard stories of. And like Gris is on the move, is in hiding. His like she's got her shackles off, you know what I'm saying? But she's freed herself.
This makes Runa happy.
Still, very far away.
Yeah.
But
okay. So many people are dead.
I also have a thing that was associated with Gavs.
Yes.
Go ahead and you're going to get to use your connections wits plus criminal, which is going to be and I'm actually I'm not going to have her appearance work when she's talking to other Jennies, so she's just going to have 6 get 3.
6 get 3.
Yeah, for her role.
Thinking about how the Jennies tried to recruit her and her cousin was a Jenny. 32.
Okay. Gav, you have a lot more proof. So the one thing that Adrian was not afraid to try to shake down was the Jennies Guild. And they are legal citizens. They are not criminals. The guild is recognized and backed by the full force of the Merchant League.
Don't fuck with the unions.
Yeah.
And very clearly, like they were looking to find a champion to like take things to the captain, who is. They had attempted to kind of like take things to him before. Does that make sense? And he was just sort of like, it just sounds like you're paying dues to the local guards. That's legal, And he apparently just didn't get that it was like fully a shakedown.
Gav is going to, I think the only thing he's probably going to ask is for like a written kind of like proof that he's got the, I don't know, not backing, but He's basically looking for yes, we are filing a formal complaint from the Jenny's Guild. Because
the madam of one of the brothels in Finehearth will speak with them at the time that they go before to present evidence.
okay. That's what he was looking for. He was looking for more than just this is what they told me.
Yeah, she's willing to put her name in her brothel, like, and fully aware that there will be recriminations from Adrian if he is still in power at the end of it.
Gav makes a mental note of the location of said brothel. In case, he needs to break some legs.
So we're going to move on to
One
Len now.
sec. I would just like to say, similarly to Honorine, now that she has her own place and she has belongings of her family, she has set them up in her room.
Okay.
Like she has, it was Red Sword, correct?
Yep.
She has that sort of up above her bed. And she keeps Gris's worry stone on the side of her bed. And she keeps Fid's dagger on her in its appropriate sheath. And the others are just around her room. Yeah.
Okay. So we move into Len. Len, you've been scouting, right?
He's been scouting, also getting fitted for his outfit for the gathering. And even if he doesn't want Gertrude to matchmake with him, he's still going to, show up all snazzy and such. But otherwise, yeah, he's mostly just been scouting the woods and surrounding areas, sitting and observing any movements of the Foulberg that seems suspicious.
So go ahead, give me wits, keen senses, and your hunter skill.
All right. $42.
Okay, so I have three things for you. He's going to get he's gonna like be witness to like at one point where a hunting party like releases somebody into the woods and is being hunted. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's fully like 9 or 10 different like tourists, I want to say, like they're not tourists of the city, they're just like, this isn't something they do normally, but like the master of the hunt is he's like charging them for this opportunity. Does that make sense?
It's a man hunting safari, effectively.
Exactly.
Yep.
And the surprise twist is when the person that they're hunting heads into an area of the forest that has started to twist and change. That has mushrooms like growing out of like the tree trunks and has like strange colors to the grass. And the hunting party is Len's first time seeing a Verschlingen. But even he, like as he's flying and stuff like that, he like it's toxic. He's taking damage from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The air itself is poison, and like the prey that's being hunted, as well as the hunters themselves, are showing the signs of it, and they have no idea what's coming for them. But Len can see it like moving through the water. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. The entire hunting party and the quarry get eaten. He sees it mow through like 8 people. Does that make sense? However, the person running the hunting party does not. He fucking turns tail and rides full speed back to the city as fast as he can, while the people who paid him are getting devoured.
Nothing Len can do about them, but he can follow the hunt master and he will, because he's going to follow him and see where he goes and see if he can figure out who this bastard is,
Yep.
as well as noting the path to the Death Snake.
Yep. So I had mentioned in Arthur's thing that there's somebody named Peter Ziskin who runs hunting expeditions. He is the one who's organizing it. The creepy taxidermist next door is seems to have no part in it or awareness of it.
Oh no, he's totally got some taxidermy people in his basement. 200% calling it now. But
yeah, but Peter Ziskin, he knows the shop, he knows the name, and
Yep.
he's personally seen it happening. So the other thing is that as he was flying and he saw overhead, he saw that there was a trail of like the same kind of discolored forest and stuff like that that was leading away from the Verschlinget's hunting grounds and led into Freeburg.
like to a sewer entrance, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Or yeah. All right, so Len needs to talk to Gav, and he needs to talk to Gav like right away. Once he notices all of this. So I don't know if we're doing that now or if you want to save that for downtime, but
let me go ahead and do Hans's downtime, and we can do that with like Len and Gav kind of talking about it on. I think I don't know. Is Gav planning to go to one of the parties? He was planning to go to.
Gav's
He
doing
was
the art
planning to
one,
go
right?
for the art party, yeah.
Yeah, but Hans and Len had already promised Gertrude that they were going to go to the to Gertrude's little soiree. So
The mixer.
the mixer. So he would probably have to find Gav before then or after then.
So for the sake of it, let's say that like Len is returning to the city with this information about an hour before the party.
Okay.
All right. So let me go to Hans real quick. So what was so Hans has also got the benefit of that he is the one who's been being tortured by nightmares for the past time. Nightmares in which he's regularly fighting. And he's not just like Eisen mercenary commanders. Like during the course of these, like there are times where he's been like a Numan soldier, like a Roman soldier. Does that make sense? There are like little pieces of history that he keeps seeing of different forays into the Black Forest that he thinks canonically have ended very badly. Does that make sense? Because he has over the course of like the week and a half, like 8 or 9 different occasions of completely different parties in the Black Forest. Most are Eisen. There's a few Montaigne.
Wow. Jeez. Yeah, it was the benefit of lack of sleep. Jeez. I think the majority, or at least a decent chunk of his downtime, kind of contributing to the collective investigation, was more so like re-poring over all the paperwork that was stolen from, well, liberated rather from Jor's now, I guess, condemned or foreclosed on house.
Regarding that, Gav would ask you about Diedrich Tybalt specifically.
Oh,
yeah, that is the guy that he's been tasked to murder or deal with.
If I remember correctly, there was a mention or two of him in some documents, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, got some ties there. And then probably, maybe a day or two of poring over the paperwork, probably a little bit more time.
The specific mention of Diedrich Tybalt is a time that Jor kind of stopped in to deliver a payment for Redmond Earhart to Adrian. Does that make sense? And Diedrich Tybalt was there talking to Adrian. Which is definitely somebody that as a guard captain you should probably not be associating with.
Yeah, probably not.
So
evidence.
Yep.
Okay.
Just sort more of that out. I had one other thing that I thought of. I had one. I probably during the most recent kind of fighting dream, because I would guess near the end he asks at least a little bit to kind of talk to his patron, so to speak, a bit more. I want to ask him about want to ask him more about the way he expanded the forest. That's something that's been kind of he's been just thinking about that a lot.
He doesn't get an answer directly, but what he does see is a small shop that's in Freeburg in the riverfront. It looks like a flower arrangement, kind of like Valentine's Day type shop. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And that's the only answer that it gets.
Interesting. Well, I guess
So for your investigation, are you still focused on that investigation, or you want to be focused on the flower shop?
I think, I mean, he still has a job to do. I think the majority of his time is probably focused on trying to wrap this up for Captain Vasya.
Okay, so go ahead and you can give me. You have the like enforcer skill, right?
Yes, I think I've got one in enforcer right now.
Okay, so can I make a suggestion? He most certainly has men in his payroll who are just as aware of Adrian's malfeasance, you know what I'm saying, as any criminals are.
Yeah.
And so if you want to do like an enforcer and wits roll to try to persuade any of them to come forward in return for potential pardons.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like about the approach he'd take.
Okay.
So that is 3, 2. Shit. That is a
no.
That is a bad one. That's oof.
I'm not going to do it the whole thing because it's a downtime thing, but like Hans bungles that enough that like he gets into a scrap with one of them.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like has to leave him like injured enough and like drag him to the jail in Steinhold as explanation. Does that make sense? And so, however, as part of the downtime, I'm going to kind of cover like the Hans and Gav, like making the approach to the captain and kind of like the evidence that they have in hand. There's collectively like 45 points of it. Does that make sense? And Adrian is going to have a role to sort of resist and make his own case in return. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
It's got to beat a 45.
Yes. Which he does not.
Let's go.
So he got a 21. So the evidence is damning enough that the captain not only keeps the one guard who's been thrown in jail, but Adrian appearing there to defend himself ends with him being taken into custody. And the captain basically immediately turned to Hans. You may now add that you have a commission.
Oh shit!
Your advantages. You are the source of authority in Finehearth. You are responsible for the enforcement of law or lack thereof. You are also responsible for making sure that the men that you will eventually have under your command get paid. There's going to be some stuff that we'll be working out in that. Does that make sense?
Let's go.
Okay. Jeez, fucking promotion out of nowhere. Damn.
No, this is what he offered in return. Does that make sense?
Shit, that's
like
right.
find me the evidence of
Find me
this,
the
and I
guy,
will
yeah.
make you the captain of it because he was impressed by your courage and your honor. He is keenly aware that like the attempt to get any of the men to turn means that all of the men in Finehearth are probably suspect. Does that make sense? And
At the very least, most of them.
That leads to like a door-to-door arrest from like the Steinhold guards directly under commander of the guards command. Does that make sense? It's like the news of the day.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm going to give 10 reputation points for this as being associated with it, that Hans and Gav can choose to decide amongst themselves who's getting what.
Honestly, you can take however much you want. Gav sees this as Hans's moment. You know,
Fair enough.
because he is already Captain Soldierman. He is, you know, he's got a reputation. Gav has a reputation too, but it works in a different way. So
Yeah.
So
he's definitely willing to let Hans take the glory.
Fair enough.
So, in connection to this, we'll talk about some of the downtimes of this is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
It is going to be sort of time consuming.
Yeah.
But one of the immediate problems, there aren't any guards in Finehearth. So until Hans has finished recruiting a new pool of guards, the criminal rating in Finehearth is going to go up.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
And if it persists long enough, it will go up another time. And if it's up long enough, it can also lead to the like levels of wealth and stuff like that going down. Does that make sense? The situation will get worse until it is corrected. But Hans has the potential to kind of correct it in the long term for the betterment of the city as a whole. Does that make sense?
Nice. Okay.
Change always causes disruption.
Yeah.
And criminals are usually the
especially
first
around
to take advantage of that disruption.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to stop here just for a moment because we are 53 minutes from what would normally be our end time. Normally, but I'm aware that there's some people who are, you know, kind of hurting and stuff like that. So like, I want to take the moment to go, do we want to like push into the party scene and go late? Or do we want to like maybe call it early and just have this be like a downtime game?
I'm personally good to go later.
I want to be able to say I can go later, but I can't.
Okay, so my thinking,
That's fair.
Arthur doesn't currently have a reason to go to either party, right? And that was kind of my plan for the night. So, so if you don't want to be here for that, that's totally fine. Like I can see that you're hurting, and I know that you were sick at the start of stuff. So we can take a few minutes to like redo the OBS if necessary. That would, I don't know how long that would take, Honorine, if you need to drop.
Not a problem. But also, if I might suggest that we like take care of one party tonight, the party that maybe Arthur is not going to be at, and then.
Well, I don't think Arthur was planning to go to either one. Was the point?
Arthur doesn't know enough about either party to be interested in going to either party.
Okay.
And he's still kind of on the outs with the group as a whole, since he
Yeah.
hasn't.
Yeah, I can totally just we can take an intermission if you want, or I can just redo OBS whenever you feel like you're ready to go.
You're welcome to stay. You know what I'm saying? I just
my migraine just hit.
Oh.
Oh no.
so if we have probably two people down, like we can have this be just an early game too. And do like
I'm
really,
sorry.
because we had all the downtime stuff to go through, and I don't mind closing out a little bit early when we've got people a little bit out of it. I have this whole week off. I can do some more prep for the party stuff, and we can just jump right into it at the start of the game.
Alternatively, is Rosa going to Redmond's party?
Yes.
We could get Gertrude's party out of the way. If like as another option.
I was
But
thinking that
it's totally okay if not.
there's also the option of having this be like, I can move things so that Len has a little bit more time in which he has the awareness of the Verslingen that's in Freiburg, and we can just kind of play that out in a little bit more detail right now and then close it after that.
That too,
Expand on a
and
bit more
also,
downtime.
can we learn more about what's his face's autobiography, like as Hans reads it?
Oh yeah. Go through all the
I'm dying to know.
How badly written is it?
I'm dying to know. What is in it?
Anyway, just some suggestions.
I'm gonna hop off then, but
Okay.
Thank you so much. I look forward to
Rest
seeing
up,
you guys
feel
next
better.
It was
time.
nice to
We'll
have
see you next time. And it
here.
was so good to have you back. And I'm sorry that like
Yep.
I was not sure if you were going to be back. Also, everything was kind of in place for the party, and I didn't
You
have
did your best, bud.
too much movement.
Have a good night.
Good
Have a good
night.
night, dude.
Hi.
Good night, Sky.
So he got a 9 on his creation roll for
Oh.
this autobiography. It's 10 is
Written in
kind of
crayon.
considered this the threshold to like create something successfully. It is hard to read. Jor not only
What
like
language is it in?
it's in Vendel.
Oh.
And it's I don't know what honor he's doing.
I think she's working on.
I'm cursing at OBS at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Runa can read it, because I don't think Hans knows any
Nope.
Vendel.
Only knows Eisen.
Can Runa read it? Yes, she can.
Runa can
Okay.
read. She was just struggling to read in Eisen until Len taught her how.
Yeah. So there's it's also very clear that George just didn't read very much on his own. Does that make sense? So like a lot of like really good authors, they kind of become that way because they have read voraciously. And Jor doesn't really have that like frame. So like there's a lot of like run-on sentences. There's almost no use of punctuation to like break up thoughts and ideas. It's a first draft.
Shut up,
and-
bitch.
And
It's a first
there's
draft
also an enormous amount of certainty of his own criminal genius. He's absolutely sure that he was like the smartest person in the room. There's a lot of it that Runa is kind of like reading and going like I remember this, and I remember like everybody like being really suspicious of him afterwards because he was being really weird about something, you know.
Essentially super incriminating if he wasn't already dead, I guess.
Well, this is all
If
it's
I
all
did
sort
it.
of like his recollections of betraying the crew of the Revenge.
It wouldn't have been incriminating because
No, I
a
mean,
lot
like,
of people want her mom
that's
in
true.
shackles. So
There is one very interesting thing in it that Runa discovers, which is that the head of the Merchants League, and in many ways kind of the person who's credited with like delivering Vendel to its current merchantliness as opposed to its former ways, is a man named Valmok. He is they're like, this is the one, this is the evil bastard. And what is a surprise to learn is that Valmok had no idea of what was going on. Does that make sense? He was not involved in orchestrating it. And in point of fact, at one point, Jor threatened to the person who did pay him to do it to reveal it to Valmok because it was an effective threat because Valmok would have absolutely put the kibosh on anything like it. Apparently, he was not interested in doing business and attempting to murder the crew of the Revenge. He wanted to like convert them. He wanted them to say, our way of life is a good one and you should join us. Which is a surprise. You know, she's kind of grown up with like Valmok is like the devil figure in a lot of ways. The person who is actually responsible for the purchase is the most noted teacher of Scaregin to Vendel, the teacher of Lairdom. His name is Bors.
can we kill him?
He's in Kirk. You did have a long trip.
Dang it.
Okay, so let's cut to Len. How much are you just speaking to Gavin? How much are you going to like gather the troops, so to speak?
For this then we'll be gathering at least Runa, Gav, and Hans. Possibly, though, as much of the group as he can find in short order to bring this to attention, because it affects everyone. But understanding that everybody's doing their own thing.
Runa lives so close, so it's easy to get
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, he can get Runa and Hans very easy. Gav takes a little more work, but it's important Gav be there.
Follow the sound of Felix's voice. You'll find
Yep.
Gav.
Right, Gav? Me.
Mm.
Yep. So yeah, he'll at least gather those three up and just be like, well, remember how was hunting Hunter of Men? The
Yes.
poor people? Well, good news. I know who he is. Bad news. His entire hunting party was murdered by Verschlingen. Good news.
Huh?
I know where Verschlingen is. Bad news. One of them is in sewers. From looks of things.
Gav starts to swear. Like
Yeah.
one continuous long quack, basically. Because he knows how much damage Verschlingen can do in a city like Freiburg. He doesn't even have to think about it.
Yes, just flying over the area where one of them is currently hunting and ate everybody but the huntmaster, burned me in my owl form. Was very high up, watching with good owl eyes, and
it creates noxious cloud just by virtue of existing.
is horrible, and it ripped through all of them in no time at all. Everyone wiped out. So
I'm going to have to learn how to read very quickly, and the Explorers League needs to know.
Explorers needs to know. Guard needs to know.
And I think it may also be prevalent that they know about the ruin sorcerer.
Is probably good idea for that, yes, as well. Can set on map where Verschlingen area is, and probably slowly expanding, can lead party out there, though I would rather not do so.
It was several days ride the first time.
So
It's much closer.
And Gav, weren't you the only survivor?
Duh.
Well, yeah, important thing to remember also, one that you went out to hunt, Gav, that you told us about. Runa, you told us Ruin Mage birthed more.
Correct.
So these could be two different Verschlingen in addition to the one that Gav faced further out from the city.
How big was the one that attacked the group?
Storyteller.
So when you kind of start comparing notes, you think that the one that attacked the group that murdered a full hunting party prepared to hunt a human, was about the third the size of the one that Gav saw. The one that Gav saw would be way too big to fit into the sewers of Freiburg.
Gav assumed that.
Yeah.
So these are the ones the Ruin Mage created.
These are baby.
Yes.
But they also
How did he create them?
What's the process?
See, when two people really like each other or want to do something,
one of them's
super
not a
terrible,
person.
Yeah. First, you need giant wasp and snake is a whole process. We will not get into that now. But yeah, so
That wasn't in character. It's just Ruth.
But so things are. Oh, God damn it! I just saw my name change when Herald of All Bad News costume. It's not wrong. Like all the terrible stuff, like the really bad things. It's like, oh well, here's Colshay, here's motherfucking Winter, here's
You brought Runa her cousin.
Yeah, so a herald of some good news, but all bad news.
I mean, comes with the messenger territory.
Yeah. Well, see, many bad reasons Verschlingen in sewers is bad, not the least of which is there's a whole slave operation down there for it to feast on, and innocent people trapped down there to murder, not let alone any thieves down there, children, any of the toffers, the people who sort through sewage for lost coins and things. There are many people who could die down there even before the Verschlingen's influence spreads upwards and begins to sicken and kill people above the sewers where it nests.
Could make it into the water, and like just the whole city's water supply. You said it creates toxins just by of its own. Just
The large
wherever
one
it
you
goes.
could feel it days away, 100 miles. It
Yes.
started to affect the grass, and when we were finally looking for it, we all had to wear. And he just sort of pauses. Urine-soaked rags over our faces, and it
Is there
still barely hurt.
any hope of getting rid of it?
His baby can maybe kill it, but will
Yeah,
be very
Gav,
dangerous.
you hear the gears grinding in Gav's head. Like, the small ones maybe easier to wrestle. But we will need, and he's just kind of trails off, firearms.
We would need to act fast, would we not?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sure we could find firearms in the merchant's quarter.
Yep. But we'll need people in the sewers to flush it out, to map where it is and try to corner it. This is not something I believe we can handle on our own.
No, it is.
I will tell the explorers. I will tell my employers, the rat catchers. They know the sewers better than anybody. That
Yes.
includes me.
I can tell Wilma.
I will inform Captain Wilhelm and some of the other guards.
So the other thing I would like to point out is that the Verschlingen's point of entry into the city would place it in Feinhearth.
Oh,
That's
Yes.
the direction it entered from.
that makes sense. Yep.
Shit.
Len goes and grabs, because he's got some maps and things. Maybe not the most amazing maps, but he can put one down and he just kind of like, here is where one Verschlingen is nesting. Here is path leading to where it entered sewers. This is likely, it's not a natural creature necessarily, but Len's a born hunter and he's really good at it. So he's just like, this is where it would likely be. I do not know the layout of the sewers, but it will look for a place with at least 2 entrances and exits, a place that it can nest relatively safely. You will probably notice rats and other things fleeing the area very quickly if you have not already, or if it has not already been found. They will flee up, they will flee out. Any sewer monsters, things will be dying. Any sewer monsters down there will be eaten. And once it has exhausted all such creatures, it will either spread out or it will rise to the surface where it knows that it's easy prey.
I do not feel bad for the kobolds in the sewers, but there are far more important things down there. And it is too late to look for these people now.
Yeah, you have definitely not had any calls about the sewer monsters, like the sewer creatures in Feinhearth, in a while.
Yeah, probably since he got back from the Verschlingen disaster. So a couple of weeks.
No, actually, probably not, since Runa had the vision of.
Yeah, I was going to say the vision
Oh,
was
okay.
well after that, because that's he got to watch him give birth. The miracle of childbirth.
Well, my brain couldn't tell the difference whether that was going to be a memory or if it was as it happened.
It was as it happened.
Visions are weird like that.
Yeah, this is how much it's grown in literally weeks, by the way.
Yeah. Shit.
The gateway rune, it's in the current moment.
Oh, okay.
You're actively seeing them
So I know we have this party to go to, but also have
We have time before the party.
I have a lot of work to do.
how much time do we have before
Well,
party?
actually, so the Gertrude is expecting Wilma Probst at the party.
Okay.
I can talk to Wilma at the party.
Yeah, that would be
To the side to not
that would be
raise alarm.
Yep.
good. Yeah, of course. Don't want to
And
cause a panic.
So I suppose we go to the party, then handle things afterward. I don't.
As
Just-
best as we can.
It depends on how much additional firepower you want to bring in. If you're trying to bring in the captain in regards to the city guard and stuff like that,
Mhm.
this is not the kind of thing most of them are trained for.
Yeah,
Yep. Well,
The
this would be more.
Explorers
There's
League will be
the
more
Explorers
helpful,
League. Yeah.
yeah.
but
Mainly
they
just
don't
to
have
keep an eye out.
command.
Well, the
Yeah.
captain may be able to. Sorry, captain may be able to have discretionary funds to hire mercenaries with guns. Maybe, don't know. If nothing else, we will need people above ground to keep a cordon,
At the
just
very
in
least.
case.
Yeah, to keep too many people from moving in or out, and just to keep watch if it sprouts up faster than we anticipate.
Yes. Good thing I have a long pointy stick. This is
Yeah. Felix has listened to all of this. I assume he was still with Gav. And he's like, I can go tell everybody in Fine Earth not to drink the water.
tell them not to drink
Yes.
water and make sure that the kids do get out of the sewers and stay out of them. A child is a good snack to this thing, and it will kill as many as it can reach.
Gav's like, boil the water and put a nail in it while it is boiling. It will not reverse the effects, it will not cure the water, but it will help.
The river's still safe though, right?
For now. It is still a small,
I'll tell people to only drink water from the river. And
but
and
yes,
to board the wells.
to be careful. Boil the water.
And yeah, boil either way. Felix, I have one other favor to ask of you. I've got this is more just a general thing I may need some help with at some point. I have a lot of work cut out for me in that area. If you could potentially be a bit of my eyes and ears in my absence, and ensure safety and food and
It's like that might get me shivved.
that's fair. I would not. If there's extra danger, then
I can tell stuff to Gav. If Gav can tell stuff to you.
perfect.
He says, but
will try
if
to
I get seen
shield
walking into the captain's office, I'm gonna get stabbed.
Oh, of course not. I
Again.
would not. We can. Yeah, if you find anything out, tell Gav. He can relate to me.
No one will try to shiv me. And if anyone tries to shiv you, you tell me, huh? He says that to Felix.
Or you'll find out at the doctor's office.
No. You tell me, and I break him. I will not have another sudden trip with Signor Mondavi.
He says, yeah, I'll do my best. I'm gonna go tell people not to drink the water though.
Be careful.
That's the most important thing.
Well, I guess before if they still have some time, Len's gonna have some copies of the map he's got, detailing it out made so they can pass them out. Because even if they get the one in the sewers, they've got to get the other one before it decides, oh, hey, the sewers are open now.
Oh,
Yeah.
He also tells Felix to tell the rat catchers.
I will.
I mean, he's the apprentice. He has to.
Apprentice rat catcher.
During the course of doing everything in preparation, Honorine at one point will hear just like a like up on her roof, and as she just kind of gets to a window, she sees Felix jumping from the roof down to like a planter, like running across her fence. And like, I know that kid.
Skitter.
He just porkers his way everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's what we're doing before the party.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Runa's
the
gonna-
plan-
Runa's gonna go to Honoreen's place like a bit before the party and just be like, "Hey, can you help me get ready?"
Naturally.
She's already got her things laid out.
She's like, "I've been expecting you."
No, she has a proper vanity now, so she can be like, this way, please.
Step into my office.
You know, and if any of the plotting involves Senor Mondavi hanging around so that Honorine can help watch his back, like she's totally into that too.
Oh, she's inviting Senor Mondavi?
She needs a date for the soiree, doesn't she? Or a chaperone, or
Yeah, well, let's cut back to this. Like, it's not too hard for her to find Mondavi if she asks like the rest of the group, because they know the bookstore basically that he hangs out at. And Ettore Mondavi is there, you know, when she arrives. Like,
what?
he's doing that thing in like the bookstore where people are kind of like reading a book that they're not buying,
Yeah.
but the owner doesn't seem to have any problem, and just guessing it probably like him informally providing the place some security, because so long as Ettore Mondavi is there, like none of the
Nobody's
kids are
gonna
trying to
steal
like
it.
pinch writing
No.
supplies or anything.
Yeah.
How at risk is a bookstore from stealing, like being stolen from by the kid gang?
So it's not the books that are at risk. Does that make sense? It's the small things that they could fence easily and not be tracked. The books are too big and too high cost to do that. But there's like writing supplies, quills, ink, you know, things that they can get a couple copper for and fit into a pocket. Like books don't do that as a rule.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, what were we cutting to? Were we cutting to Runa or
to
away
the point
from
where she's
Runa?
kind of asking Ettore about an escort.
Oh.
It's just a quick little like flashback.
Oh, well, yeah. So she, in theory, has found out that Hans has already like committed himself to Gertrude's shindig, right? In theory, like, because obviously friends before fencers. And
Yeah.
so
I think Hans and Len are both like, yeah, Gertrude's party.
So we live at her house, so we're kind of obligated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Runa too.
she
She's
knows
like,
when we're home.
She does know where we live. Yeah.
she knows who her attendants are if she doesn't see them at the party.
So I think Honorine is going to kind of make her way, and she's probably got like a maid with her or something. I don't know. Like, she's not wandering around like all by herself, but she definitely like sort of eases into the bookshop and kind of like flips through a book, and then
And he like looks up like when she comes in and kind of like the Honorable Size to Size says, I am surprised to find you all the way down here on Finer Hearth.
Oh, I had no idea you would be here. How nice to see you.
He smiles, whether or not like he believes it for even a second, you know, it's like kind of impossible to gauge. He says, are you in the market for a book or something else?
Well, I was looking for a new set of quills, but since you're here, I actually happen to have a request for you.
He raises an eyebrow. He says, oh.
I have been invited to a It's called a soiree, and I don't know what that means in Freiburg. It certainly means something different than it means in Montaigne, but I would not like to go unaccompanied, and I don't know very many people in the city yet. Are you free tomorrow night?
He says, I am, and I would be delighted to serve as your escort and protector at such an event.
Are you going to have need of my tailor, or?
Oh, no. No, I serve in many more formal functions on behalf of Prince Mondadi. He says, I shall. He says, I shall be delighted to surprise you.
Giant snake monster in the sewers, and I was like, the giant snake doesn't come until after the third soiree. Anyway. Yeah, no, I would be very grateful if you could meet my carriage at such and such an address, such and such a time, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, I don't think a carriage arrival is going to be possible in Eisen. Or in Freiburg. The bridge is in and out of that particular part. He says, I can... almost everyone will be arriving on foot, as gauche as it might be for a Montaigne.
Well, that informs my shoe decisions.
A
little bit better.
He says, if I might inquire, he says, as to where you reside, so that I can call upon you.
Yes. Naturally. It's at the houses of on Donner Street.
He says, he says, I have heard of that landlord, although I'm not familiar with him.
Sorry, I don't have my notes right in front of me, so like it's Waldo.
Yeah.
But like I don't remember his last name, so I'm just like, it's Sir Waldo.
He says, well,
Marigold Street.
He says, I shall be happy to inquire tomorrow night then.
Perfect.
May I inquire as to the color of your dress?
Green.
I shall be suitably attired.
Wonderful. Oh look, quills. I'm going to see about my quills, and then I will see you tomorrow night then.
Says, of course. He takes down a book and he kind of like sets it on the shelf and he says, a gift for the lady. And the shop owner kind of like rings it up. And...
Is it smart?
Oh my. What kind of book is it?
It's the author is Scarabese. He wrote a number of books. He's very he's like he might as well have written the Bible Vidachi and How to Vidachi. But it is an Eisen translation.
I'm not familiar with this. I'm fascinated to see what multitudes it contains.
He says, I will say that the Eisen translation is a little blunt on some topics, where I feel the Vidachi has a bit more nuance.
Well, maybe I'll be able to read it in Vidachi someday. I'm actually learning Vidachi.
I have some copies of it in the original Vidachi if you're interested.
Maybe eventually, once I improve my lingual skills a little bit.
He smiles and I'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you so much. Okay.
So cutting back to Bruna and Henri.
Anyway, yeah, so she's like, yeah, come on in. I was actually just getting ready for an evening of my own. So.
Yeah, I've never been to a party.
Ever?
I spent most of my life on a ship before I was in the sewers before I was here. So no.
They don't have birthday parties on ships.
Little celebrations, but wasn't much larger gatherings than the crew.
Tell me about the gathering. What do you expect? Who do you expect to run into there? Is it people you know well, or
Other than our current friends, no. I don't know many people here. So
okay.
I'm unsure as to what to expect.
Well, and she's sort of like kind of pawing through like clothes, like kind of thinking about it, and she's like, "Oh, well, I think we can. I think you can go and I don't know if Runa like brought an outfit or if like
She usually wears like her usual corset and tight pants.
Would you be open to wearing a skirt?
I think so. I'm up for a change.
If you'd like, if you're more comfortable, you can leave the trousers on underneath.
That should be fine. I should be okay.
Okay. So she's gonna set, Runa up with a nice like dress, like a sort of, nice one, but not like super upscale nice, just sort of like a dancing dress, like, and kind of like, how does Runa usually wear her hair?
It has been up the same way for as
like
long
4
as
years?
Honorine has known. No, I think she did it after she got out of the sewer. The situation she was in.
So I think she's going to just do like a braid, like a kind of like, do you know what I mean when I say like a loose braid that has like is
like a braid crown?
No, I'm thinking of like the ones that are kind of loose on the side so that the hair like is sitting like a little bit wide, like it's not pulled really tight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking like just sort of like a casual, like maybe French braid sort of thing where it's with not
like
in
the face framing pieces.
Yeah.
Like super pretty, super cute.
Yeah, like we're thinking like a pastoral milkmaid.
Oh hell yeah. I love it.
So yeah, that's that's what we're gonna go for, and it's like, maybe she's not used to wearing too much like makeup, so maybe we're gonna go light on the cosmetics, and maybe we're just gonna, go on natural on it.
Okay.
While they're getting ready, she's going to ask more about like how are you related to the other woman, like what, because she's probably heard of Runa's mom, right?
Knowing Runa's last name, storyteller.
Yes.
Garston.
I'm here.
Alfred.
So,
because this is information Runa would.
So
yeah,
would she have an idea of like who, like with that kind of reputation, she would know who Ingvild is, right?
Yeah, Ingvild had a negative 56 reputation at the time that she was taken down, which is like sort of inflated by Kirk or by Vendel propaganda. Right. And so she would have heard of her as like a scourge of trade throughout the northern seas, most of which is done by the Vendel. I'm switching our map to the big map real quick. So, so all of the oceans above, like Usura, Eisen, and Montaigne, are pretty much most of the trade that's done there is done by the Vendel. There's some that's done by Avalon, but Avalon has put a focus on expanding its military or its navy for military purposes, and most of its trade ships have been turned over into naval vessels. So that has opened up for the Vendel to have a lot of opportunities. The Vestin are their pirates, effectively. So she knows Ingvild as one of the most notorious of said pirates.
I'm sorry, is that a fish with steam coming out of its ears?
So
on the map?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Just curious.
That's probably a representation of the Great Dragon, which is part of Vestin culture.
Cool. Great. Okay. So as they're getting ready, like as she's getting ready with Runa or whatever, I think she would like ask like, so your mother, what was she like? What was it like growing up on a ship?
I'd say it was interesting.
Was it fun?
At times, it was quite fun. A lot different than, living on land. Living on a ship, lots of other things come with it, like people who try to take the ship down. That's not so fun. But I would say that there weren't many dull moments. Cat!
I see the kitty.
Yay.
The real star of the show.
Yeah.
He's trying to be a donut thief.
Oh man, now I want some donuts.
Yeah, I even got chocolate milk to go with donuts, but I didn't get donuts to go with the chocolate milk.
How dare you? And Runa kind of just talks about like her family and about her mom in a way that is so different from everything you've heard.
Honoring is 100% like she's genuinely curious about how Runa grew up, because it seems so alien to the way that she grew up. So she's like, how did you learn? Like, did you learn to tie knots? Like, how did you learn to sail? Did you have, do you know who your dad is? Like, only maybe not so blunt.
And Runa's response to that is, that's a great question. I don't know who my dad is.
He wasn't on the ship with you?
Her mom never told her who her dad is, right?
Would you like to make a wits roll in recollection?
Can I add anything?
Drama die?
At all? Can I add a drama die?
You absolutely may. And I will give you Sailor for your kind of like memory of your stories and whatnot from your mom.
So 4 keep 2.
Yep. Well, if you're adding a drama die, it's going to be 5 key 3.
Oh yes.
There's drama dice are kept, which is awesome.
Ooh. Nope, that's wrong. Ignore that.
Oh, what a fork. Jesus Christ.
I forgot to cancel before I.
That's fine.
So that's 5 keep 3.
Well, you rolled 40.
26.
Yeah. Okay. You just recently been
Better.
thinking, you know, in the visions of kind of like the man that uh your mother had decried as like this person would wipe out all Vendel. Does that make sense? And you kind of realize like there was a very personal vehemence about we are absolutely not supporting his claim. That you don't know your mother to have had quite so temperamental a reaction to like anybody else. There was a passion there.
Wait, who is this? I missed the thing.
So I described one of the crewmen. So there's the one person who's missing the eye, right?
Okay.
Who two of the former crew have fallen in with. And then there's the one that the Scald has fallen in with, who is like the sort of Jarl of Jarls in Vestin, is looking to be named the High King, and is like he's a Vestin's Vestin. He's huge, bearded, muscles, badass fighter. And you knew your mother knew him personally because of she thought that he would be a terrible High King. And it just kind of like crosses your mind that you have a possible suspicion as to like why she felt so personally passionate about it. And that you had never ever been brought to meet him.
Runa will explain this to Honorine.
Honorine is completely there for the tea. She's like, do you think she felt so strongly about him because she had feelings for him?
Perhaps.
There are
Kinda-
few people that a woman can think of as, you know, less competent than someone that's her lover.
You may be correct. Kind of curious as if he knows about me, actually. So that's interesting.
That's the kind of thing that epic poems are made up of. Your whole life is an epic poem. You realize that, don't you? You're obviously in the middle of a heroine's journey.
That's interesting to think about.
You're an interesting person.
Thank you. I've always kind of viewed myself as just a person with the potential to do something great.
What else is a hero?
I just want to be remembered, my name to be remembered.
How? Do you want to be remembered through children? Do you want to be remembered through a legacy? Through your vengeance? How do you want to be remembered?
We Vestin believe that having your name remembered is what leads you to rest in Valhalla.
Rest in what?
Valhalla.
Is that a good thing?
Yes.
Oh. What is it?
I need assistance because Runa would be able to just explain in great detail.
It's like an eternal feast hall. It's those who are taken to. It actually is Odin. Does that make sense? That is considered the god of it, but he's also the only like god of the Vestin pantheon. The demigods are all made up of like the living rooms, and so those who dwell there because they are remembered. Because their songs are still sung or something in the Vestin archipelagos are like named after them. And so every time it's mentioned or thought of, they're reminded of so-and-so. So yeah, that is there isn't the same in like traditional Norse mythology. There's this idea that they like fight all day. Does that make sense? And then they rise from the dead after the day of fighting. It's not quite that. It's more like battle and combat happens whenever they will it, but they can also spend the time, with wives and lovers and feasting and just doing whatever it is they want to do. It's a heaven, but with battle axes.
Hashtag just Norse things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Okay. So she'll listen. Like as she's finishing up Runa's hair, she'll listen to Runa's effusive description of this feast hall of forever with the battles and the women ? And
Women are absolutely 100% equally considered warriors in the Western culture.
Well, no, you were talking about like wives and lovers and stuff, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's so she's like listening, and she's like, I see. Okay, well, I wish you there. I hope you achieve that.
And as they're talking, Runa would be asking of Honoриne's upbringing and everything like that. Because again, it's something so foreign to her. Who that?
Who
Is that my dad?
Daddy? Sorry.
Papa.
I'm getting his name real quick. I said I would look it up, and I did.
So that is my dad.
That is Magnus Brynjolfsson of Larsfolk.
Whoa.
Daddy?
Bless you.
That's daddy.
Known for his savagery, his size, and his battle
His
conduct.
size,
His
huh?
size.
Yeah. Oh.
So maybe it isn't a compensation joke.
No wonder her mom was so into it.
Yeah.
I
He took a
visibly-
great ride on his long ship.
On his long sword.
I immediately just thought of Stoic from How to Train Your Dragon. I was like, yeah, that checks out.
His hammer.
The most Viking of Vikings, basically.
Anyway, Honorine would have been a lot more like kind of she doesn't think of her upbringing as having been particularly special, and she's not about to like tell the tale of her imaginary friend, the forest monster.
But Runa would love that. Because they're both trying to learn what seems so different and interesting to them.
Yeah, I think she would have. I don't think she's ready to really talk about the forest monster childhood friend bestie there.
That's
so
fair.
I think she's mostly like, oh yeah, I spent a lot of time learning, and I had tutors, and I had a lot of cousins. Like I don't have a lot of siblings, but I spent some time playing by myself and spent some time learning all the things that I'm supposed to know as a noblewoman. She would kind of mention, after a little bit of hesitancy, like she would mention that she was betrothed, she was engaged, and so for most of her later childhood / early adolescence, she spent time writing letters, and she would definitely speak of Thomas as being like in a very tender way. Like it's very clear that she was invested in, like she foresaw her future as being with this man as his wife, joining his household. So she would have probably told Runa a little bit about Toma like writing letters to him, and some of his letters got a little bit saucy, but not too bad, you know, boys.
The only boy I thought I was going to marry kind of betrayed my whole family, so this is definitely a nicer story.
Oh, that's awkward. That seems like a misstep.
Well, I hadn't. He was probably one of the first boys I met that was actually around my age. But he's dead now.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. / congratulations that happened. Since there was a whole
He was
jail
awful.
thing.
Yeah, as you know, he was awful. Awful writer too.
Toma was very talented at writing. He still is. He's out. I expect whatever wife he ends up with will be very happy to receive his letters.
Mm.
And she's like, there's just this awkward silence where she's like trying to figure out whether she needs to ask more about Runa's like boyfriend / murder victim, or
Speaking of horror, I want to cut over to Hans for a moment.
Oh fuck!
Ooh.
God damn it!
Let's go.
Let's go!
So you guys have kind of like, you've had this little conversation about what you're going to do. You're headed to Gertrude's place, right? Well, just sort of like back to the Dragon Nest from the bear house. When you see the flower shop out of your dream, it's in the riverfront, and you're like, you just kind of recognize the building now.
I mean, if I'm passing by, I'll take a look.
Okay. It's late enough that most shops are closed, but the door is ajar. And you kind of like pass in, and like the front of it is like it's all like complicated floral arrangements, like your shelves that say like, "I'm sorry, I love you, marry me. I'll never sleep with the housekeeper again." Not really, but you get the idea. And there's another door that leads into the back, and in it you can see like all sorts of planters with hundreds of different flowers. And there's no sign of the shopkeeper, right? Like, this is a premises upon which they would live. There would be a house over it, but the door is ajar. It doesn't look like anybody's disturbed it or anything like that. Likely because stealing flowers is not like a high value thing.
Not a ton of gain there.
But you see that there's one planter that has a couple of shoots of black barked trees pushing up out of the ground.
Oh.
Possibly mistaken for flowers, possibly just grown out of curiosity.
Is what you meant.
And like around them, just all of the shadows seem a little deeper.
Kind of more out loud. I think I understand a bit better now.
And that's where we're going to drop the curtain. All right. Thank you, everybody. I know it was kind of a little bit of an odd session. We did mostly downtime. We were going to do some parties, but RSVP before the party, so the name is still appropriate for the episode.
We just have to arrange the hunt for a giant murderous toxic snake, around
in the
that
aftermath,
time
right?
too.
Yeah, you guys are going to have one of those, like, we're at a party and having very secret conversations, and now everybody's going to think we're super popular.
I mean, Runa's going to talk to Wilma, who
Yeah.
is very known.
Wait till you see the after party, though.
So, and we had some people drop out. One of my foundational things about this game is that I want people to play when they're feeling up to it and feeling healthy, even if that means halfway through you're no longer up for it. Then we're going to adjust. And I wanted to give a shout out to Glory for adjusting on the fly. I know that was not an easy thing to do, not just like having one person drop, two people drop. So
It was a piece of cake.
Handled like a
I saw the
boss.
pants in the chat.
Certified OBS wrangler.
So, so I wanted to thank you for that. That was very much appreciated. Before we close out, let's get some nominations for extra XP.
Ooh.
I would like to
Glory.
nominate.
Oh,
I would actually like to nominate Arthur Scard. I know he's not here, but like it's really difficult to jump back in after like 8 sessions of being missed. And he just like hopped right back into character, like picked it up and ran with it. So I'd like to nominate him for one of them.
I was gonna say that for
That's a
one
good
too.
one.
I like it.
yep.
Yeah.
And I wanted to nominate Glory both for the OBS wrangling and for the whole. Oh, I didn't know you were going to be at this bookshop. Since you are, how would you like to escort me?
What
Good
a
sir, I
rom-com
did not
ship.
expect to see.
I'm glad you liked that.
It's,
That was
what
some
what an
quality
insane
rom-com shit.
coincidence.
Yeah.
I'm
Good stuff today.
good with both of those. So go ahead and both of you take the bonus experience. I'm going to do 3 for tonight, plus drama dice,
Nice.
plus 1 if you earned it. So
Jack to 10.
Nice.
Right.
Saving
I
up for
can do
that 4
simple
strength.
Oh,
and thank you to our chat. Thank you for everybody who came out to watch, and thank you for everybody who may be watching on YouTube. We've apparently been getting a number of views. So Kevin said that we were like the most watched playlist on the channel.
Nice.
So
Nice.
hurrah!
Half of that is probably me like clicking on the videos over and over again and making notes. So you're welcome.
Hey, it's all for the algorithm.
yeah. Boost the numbers.
The holy algorithm.
If you are watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe. Everybody knows the rules by now, but everything helps and is appreciated. And just to close us out, the world's tumultuous right now. There's a lot of chaos out there, but you can do a small part in making it a little bit less so by practicing niceness. Kindness is great when you have the spoons for it, but niceness goes a long way in reminding everybody that everyone they meet is just people. And the internet has an easy time alienating us from one another.
It's everyone's first time being alive.
Yeah. At the
That's
end of
a
the day,
really
we're all
good
in
way
this
of putting
together.
it.
Yeah.
So thank you all very much. Tune in next time for actual parties.
Yeah.
We'll see you next
There will
Sunday.
be cake.
And there will be 2.